welcome to another episode of the Heart Patient Health Systems, and this is like I promised, this is part 2 of the distilled water section. So if you've just joined me, thank you, subscribe. There's lots of information and lots more information to come. I had to do the water in 2 parts because you can see I'm surrounded by a lot of stuff here. There is just so much to say about something we take for granted, and if I can influence your choice, I hope today can give you an insight into just what's gone on in how a very dangerous chemical has ended up in your water supply and in your toothpaste. Okay, so like I say, if you're not a patient, if you're recovering, if you've been one, if you are one, if you're diagnosed, blah blah blah, great, you come to the right place to make informed decisions about getting healthier. If you're new to this channel, stick around, there's lots of information to come. So let's kick off without further ado. Okay, I was talking about distilled water, and you can see the video for that if you go through the other videos, and this is part 2. Okay, so what I want to start with is a TDS meter. Right, now my TDS meter is total dissolved solids, and I think I said in the last video, I hope you can see that. I said in the last video I'm going to do a test and show you after I descaled my distiller. So that's been done. Now this glass of water has just come out of the distiller. How do I know that? Because it's warm. It's actually warm, and I don't drink tap water, and I'm going to go on to why I don't. Okay, so let's do the test. Now obviously I've done this test before, and this test is not rigged. You can do it yourself. Like I say, this is a TDS meter, total dissolved solids. So I'm just going to switch it on and see what it reads. Wow, amazing, amazing. Now I don't know whether you can see that, but I'm going to try and show you this, guys, because this is interesting. I expected it to be around there, and as you can see, that's 0. That is reading 0. Okay, and this is what distilled water is all about. There's nothing in it. That's why you're drinking, right? Now what people don't mention, before I babble on, let me just test this one. Okay, so there, that's slightly warm, it's just come out of the distiller, right? And as you can see, and guys, I don't drink tap water. Now this is a tap water. There you go, guys. I've got 228, 230, 231. Now like I say, depending on which area you live in, this can be as high as 450. Right, 450 total dissolved solids. This is 231. 231. Let's just try and so you can get to see it. That's gone down to 229, but there you go. You get to see it. I hope you can see it. It's always difficult to do, isn't it, in low light? Though these GoPros are good in low light. 229 at the minute. It was 231. Okay. So like I said previously, that's the tap water. like I said previously, guys, right? When I showed you inside the distiller, that's what you're drinking. See, you can't see, but that's what you're drinking. Exactly the same gunge that you see inside your kettle. Those charged particles that stick to the side are going to go in your body, and they're going to get trapped in your kidneys and in your joints, and like we spoke about. So let's move on, right? What else is in tap water? Well, obviously, I spoke about chlorine as well. If you looked at the bacteria videos, I did go across chlorine. Chlorine's not going to be took out of your water anytime soon, because it works really well, really well in the plumbing system at killing bacteria and viruses, and that's the job it's designed to do. So they're not going to alleviate that. And what I did say was that chlorine will also kill your probiotics, so you have to take that into consideration, possibly in judging which water you're going to use in your journey for health. With that said, okay, let's come to the daddy of them all, because I've got quite a lot to say about fluoride. Now, excuse me, the fluoride story started many years ago, and is a very interesting one. You won't believe, I hope you do when I'm finished telling you, you won't believe how much skullduggery has gone into keeping fluoride in your water and in your toothpaste. So, without further ado, I'm going to try and explain it to you. So let's go back to the 1930s in Greenland. This is, well, tell a lie before that, but I'll tell you about that in a minute, right? In Greenland in the 1930s, right? See, Greenland did have 80% of the world's, in the 1930s, it had a seam of something called cryolite. Now, cryolite is the Eskimo name, right, for the ice stone, right? It's an Eskimo name for the ice stone, which is fluoride out the ground. Well, the largest seam was found in Greenland. Now, a lot of people don't realise this, but Greenland is the sovereign state of Denmark. The Danes own Greenland. People don't realise that. So, the Danish started to mine cryolite because back in the 1930s, aluminium was the carbon fibre of the day. It was the latest metal, and cryolite or fluoride, right? Now, before I carry on, cryolite contains 65% fluoride. Okay, it's always bound in nature, and that I must make that clear. It's always bound, right? Now, what's interesting about that is, right, and like I said, people had run into problems with cryolite and not known it in the early days of the West in America. When the travellers set out to explore different parts of America and travelled across Texas, Colorado, Utah and Arizona, they sunk their own deep wells to get water. What they didn't know, right, was they sometimes were sinking a well through a seam of fluoride or cryolite, as it was known. So there's a saying in Texas, going back to the days of the cowboys, there was a saying of Texas teeth. Now, Texas teeth was fluorosis. That was the fluoride that impacts the teeth and stains the teeth, and it was nicknamed Texas teeth. Now, that's interesting. That's probably the earliest record of fluoride. But like I say, what's interesting about fluoride, in nature it is bound up. It's always bound with another mineral in nature because it's so reactive. Now, I was some weeks ago now talking about free radicals and oxygenation and whatnot and antioxidants. One of the biggest free radicals you will ever come across, in my opinion, is fluoride. What makes it such a free radical, it has 9 protons at its core, 9 protons, right? And it has a really, really weak shell of electrons whizzing around it. So it's very, very reactive, right? Now, I will be doing a video on this because this will keep cropping up, like I said in previous videos, antioxidants and how they work and how they actually, antioxidants donate electrons to stop a chain reaction. I will be talking about that to make it, to simplify it, because guys, you do look at some of the physics drawings and they're so hard to understand, and I'm sure I can do a simpler version of that. With that said, let's move on. So, people first ran into problems with fluorosis of the teeth in Texas in the early days, in Colorado and in Arizona, excuse me, but they didn't know. They obviously didn't know, and there was no one to do research in them days, right? So let's move back to Greenland and roll on. The first guy who seriously looked into problems that Denmark and the processing factories in Copenhagen were having problems with the workers, and the first guy who seriously looked into that was an health researcher called al-qaeda. Now, I don't speak Danish, so I don't know whether I'm pronouncing that correctly, and I don't want to upset anyone there. But let's just say al-qaeda. Now, Mr. Rohan was the first guy who actually noticed, well, the association of cryolite refiners were having people with problems, lots of medical problems, people in the refineries in their factories where they were trying to refine this cryolite, which is fluoride, like I said. One of the things that he noticed in his research was that fluoride was such a free radical, it turned off a lot of enzymatic reactions in the body.